is eliminated, and only the driver remains. 12 of the finest to pit their skills against each other in the International Race of Champions. In the black car is Davey Allison representing the stock cars. The 92 Daytona 500 champion races in his second IROC series. In the powder blue car is rookie Jack Baldwin. The road racing veteran won last year's Trans Am Championship. In the bright blue car is transplanted Australian Jeff Brabham. 4 times he has been the IMSA GT champion. 2-time Daytona 500 champion and the 88 Winston Cup champ is Bill Elliott. He drives in the red car. In cream is Juan Fangio, an IROC rookie racer. This Argentinian took the IMSA GT championship last year. Harry Gant in white is in his 4th IROC series. In 1985, he was the IROC champion. In lime, it's road racer Davy Jones. This sophomore IROC competitor has raced and won in everything from go-karts to IMSA. Alan Kulwicki in orange is the reigning Winston Cup champion. He took his crown last year in the closest points battle in history. In rose, it's Indy driver Arie Luyendyk. This is his 2nd IROC series. In 1990, he ran away with the Indy 500. In bright orange and back to defend his IROC title is stock car champion Ricky Rudd. Al Unser Jr. in purple won the closest Indy 500 ever last year. Twice, he's taken the IROC championship. And 4 times, Al Unser in the pink car has taken the Indy 500. In 1978, he was the IROC champion. The 12 are ready. IROC 17 is about to begin. The site for this round number 1 is Daytona International Speedway. Hello and welcome. I'm Paul Page. The concept in the IROC is equality. 12 equally prepared Dodge Daytonas. The drivers actually draw for their race cars before the start of every race, and as a matter of fact, for this round number 1, they drew for their starting positions. This year, the IROC will be contested on 4 super speedways. After the race here at Daytona, it's on to Darlington, NASCAR's toughest track, and then to Talladega, the fastest track in the history of the IROC. The series wraps up at Michigan International Speedway, which has crowned many an IROC champion. To the winner, $175,000, but of greater importance is the IROC title itself. Twice in the series history, that title has been taken by road racers, 6 times by IndyCar drivers, and 8 times by stock car drivers. Now, each year, the organizers fret over their choice of the participants. It's getting harder and harder with an ever-increasing motorsports calendar to plug good drivers into the IROC schedule. And this year, Sam, there is an argument that there is a lean toward the stock car drivers.
Well, yes, certainly. With Darlington added and with strength in numbers, 5 of the 12 competitors are Winston Cup men. The series does look a little lopsided in favor of the stock car men. But that's only at first glance. And in fact, the road racers and IndyCar drivers have wanted to race on short ovals ever since Danny Sullivan won on the 1-mile oval at Nazareth back in 1989. And anyhow, who has the best record of all the IROC drivers in the championship this year? It's Al Unser Jr., not a Winston Cup man. Al is twice IROC champion, and he's the winner of more IROC races than anyone else. Plus, his dad, Big Al, is in the series this year as a potential drafting partner for Little Al. You know, Paul, I'd say once again that we're in for some very close racing.
Well, there are some other interesting contrasts in this IROC starting field. Let's go trackside and Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, it doesn't seem to matter whether or not you've competed in IROC before, because as a rookie, Ricky Rudd captured the championship last year, but he is one of the stock car regulars. Compare driving an IROC Dodge Daytona to your regular Cup car.
Well, Jackie, the cars are very similar in a lot of ways as far as the way they drive in the draft. The IROC cars seem to maybe be a little bit more stable aerodynamically than the Cup cars. The biggest thing is the what you call the bump draft, and I've never heard that term before until I got in here and ran the IROC series. And basically, you can be out front me if I'm leading the pack and there's a daylight maybe a half a car length behind me. The guy behind me will drive into me, not even check up, hit me in the back bumper, shove me forward about 2 or 3 car lengths, and then drive back to me. The Cup cars don't have that.
One of the rookies in the field this year representing road racing is Jack Baldwin. And Jack, you say that you prefer the super speedways with these cars.
Oh, yeah, this is a real thrill for me. I've always wanted to do it, and just going around this Daytona Motor Speedway is just fantastic.
Now, what's the game plan? What are you going to do at the beginning of this race?
Well, plan A, you know, last year Harry Gant did a pretty good job, and, you know, he's a master, so I'm right behind him at the start, and plan A for me is to stick with Harry.
Well, Bobby Unser, Harry Gant doesn't seem to be a bad choice if Jack Baldwin's got to pick a player.
Well, Jack, you're absolutely right. The finish here last year was one of the best I've ever seen in any type of racing. Harry Gant came from the back of the pack to take the lead late in the race, but Dale Earnhardt got by at the finish line to take the win. Ricky Rudd and Gant finished in a dead heat for second place. And remember, great racing is the norm here at Daytona, and we can expect more of that in this IROC race for sure. The Daytona IROC has had its share of surprises as well. Who will ever forget, for example, Scott Pruitt's unlikely win here in 1991? So we know that no one is taking anything for granted here today.
Well, the Dodgers are on the pace lap. Let's take a look at the starting field. The cars are numbered according to their starting position, with Kulwicki and Fangio in the front row and Allison and Jones in row number 2. In the third row, Al Unser Jr. and his father, Big Al. Row 4, Ricky Rudd and Harry Gant, both stock car drivers. Back in row number 5, it's Bill Elliott and Trans Am champion Jack Baldwin. In the 6th row, Jeff Brabham and Ari Lyondike. So now they're set to go with Juan Fangio, the pole sitter, but only twice in IROC history has a road racer won on an oval. The last time, though, was last year when Jeff Brabham, in race number 3 at Michigan International, drove to the win. The new season is about to begin. So the field, 12 cars, 12 great champions, well organized now as they head down toward the stripe, and 100 miles lie ahead of hard-fought competition here at Daytona. As the speed begins to pick up, the green flag is out, and here we go.
The banking, 18 degrees in that start-finish turn, 31 degrees on the big high banks that they're headed onto right now.
Fangio, the cream-colored car, out in front as Davy Jones tucks in behind. Kulwicki is stuck with a high line. Davy Allison is right behind Kulwicki in the black car.
You know, Paul Fangio has been talking to some guys. He actually got a jump on him. Fudged a little bit at the start, got a jump at him. And look, the guy we expected to go right back to the back is leading the race.
And look at the black car. That's Davy Allison as he comes down to the bottom of the racetrack. Inside Davy Jones, and now is in pursuit of Juan Fangio. And now he moves to the inside of Fangio as Allison makes a bid.
Fangio has never raced in this kind of race. He's tasting car-to-car competition for the first time right now.
3 abreast as they head for the stripe. Down on the inside, that's Davy Jones, the lime green car. He gets a little help from Alan Kulwicki as we take a look back from Davy Allison's car.
Jones is just back from England where he tested a Benetton Formula 1 car. He said, I'm going to win one of these IROC races this year. He's leading this one now.
Well, you can see that tapping, that bumping going on. Right there, you can see that orange car was wiggling really good. Rudd almost got spun right there coming off of 2.
Ricky Rudd, who started well back in the field, back in 8th starting position, has moved up and now sits in 2nd position behind Davy Jones, who leads it. But Davy Allison, very definitely a factor. Look at the lineup down low. The low side of the racetrack is working very well for these cars.
I'm not saying this is the way it'll turn out, but a road racer is leading the race right now, and I think it's a symbol of the fact the competition is going to be very equal this year.
You know, so far, Sam, there's 2 even lines. There's just not one line. Usually one guy gets out of line, the line jumps the other way, and he just goes to the back. Right now, it's kind of even both sides.
Look at how close it really is, Bobby. Terrific racing.
All 12 remaining close together. Al Unser Jr. has closed up at the back end of Ricky Rudd now. He is the driver that the Winston Cup drivers say that they most fear in terms of being able to run head-to-head with them here on their own turf at Daytona.
Now this is where it gets touchy. It's coming down into the tri-oval. Right there, they're turning in. Guys are really vying for position on who is going to get the fast line to it.
Taking advantage of the draft now, it's Ricky Rudd that comes up to the front with Al Unser Jr. just behind him. And Jack Baldwin has managed to come up and tuck into 3rd place.
Baldwin had hopes only for following Gant, Harry Gant, but Gant is last. You see him on the extreme right of the screen in the white car, so Baldwin is doing a lot better than that.
Now going for the lead, it's Al Unser Jr. as he comes inside Rudd. Baldwin is right there, and he's going to try to make the move as well, and he picks up second.
Well, you know, Baldwin had ambitions to be a stock car driver, and fate kind of led him into the road racing ranks instead. But he looks like a stock car driver, big and strong and brawny, and I think he's very much at home in this form of competition.
Well, Jack Baldwin lies in second place behind Al Unser Jr. Ari Luyendyk is third, and Ricky Rudd is the top stock car driver in the lineup at the moment.
The International Race of Champions is brought to you by the new Dodge, a division of the Chrysler Corporation. By True Value. Got a tough job to do? You can do it with True Value hardware stores. By Bosch Platinum, the ultimate spark plug. And by John Deere Lawn and Grounds Care Dealers. Nothing runs like a Deere.
In the International Race of Champions, only these cars are used for the races themselves. They practice with an entirely different set of cars, so they are just for the first time finding out what these cars can do. And all 12 are staying very close together with Al Unser Jr. still leading it. But look back toward the back there. Harry Gant, the white car, was in last place, now begins to inch his way forward. Al Unser is in that pink car, looking for some high racing room as well, just ahead of Gant.
And right now, Paul, you can't say that the NASCAR guys are teaming up against the other guys, because look in the front, you got little Al, Ari Luyendyk right behind him, then Jack Baldwin, and then the NASCAR guys. You got a real big picture of guys that are up in front of this race.
Al Unser Jr. and Ari Luyendyk work the low groove. Up high, it's Ricky Rudd. There is Luyendyk just ahead. Now, Luyendyk is hot on the heels of Al Unser Jr. This year, Luyendyk seems to be much more comfortable in the Daytonas.
You spoke about Luyendyk's grim season in IROC last year. He never finished better than 10th in any one of the races and finished dead last in the series. He told me yesterday, he said, I'm so glad they invited me back because I have something to prove here. And he is proving it, that he can run very well in this car, kind of car.
You watch when little Al pulled down, Luyendyk went right down with him. In other words, he didn't try to make any new groove or anything. He knew that drafting is the utmost important thing here at Daytona.
Luyendyk learned a lot about drafting in IROC last year, including that they lighten up when they're side by side.
With the IndyCars, you don't have that. You go side by side through the corner, and it doesn't take away your air. The only time in IndyCar is that your air is taken away violently if somebody passes you on the inside and then just cuts across and goes to the outside, and then he takes away all your air and you've got nothing there. That also happens in these types of cars, but what I didn't realize was that driving side by side could actually get you into big trouble.
As everyone knows, Ari Luyendyk did not have a full-time ride that last year. He does this year with Chip Ganassi in Indy, and he has a very good season ahead of him. I think his confidence is at an all-time high.
You know, some of the IndyCar guys don't like to come here because they feel, there's Rudd moving up. Some of the IndyCar guys don't like to come here because they feel the NASCAR guys have too much of an advantage. But if you watch what you've been seeing so far, the Indy guys are catching on pretty fast.
So Ricky Rudd now comes up alongside Al Unser Jr. as they battle for the lead. And Rudd pushes his nose ahead, but Jr. may have him at the stripe. Now three abreast. Elliott gets into the fight as well. And boy, look at that power. What a perfect piece of positioning as Elliott comes around and picks up the lead. Ricky Rudd drops in second. Jack Baldwin is still staying solidly in the fight. He seems happier running on the low groove.
I think Elliott did a really good job. That was a pretty good calculated rest because he got a good draft, went three abreast at the tri-oval and got by him. That's a pretty
Whoa,
good
did you catch that? There is Baldwin right behind. And he just comes up and taps him. Bump drafting has really become the way here. Now in the driver's meeting they say, we really would prefer you don't do that. And then the drivers just kind of giggle and out they come. But what about bump drafting? Jack Arute Pitside can explain it better.
You fellas upstairs have talked about the bump draft all afternoon. Our viewers may wonder, how do the noses of these cars withstand that type of impact? Well, here's a hammer. And take a look. I'm banging on it pretty hard. These Dodge IROC Daytonas are built to last. You can be sure that each and every one of the drivers know well that these noses will take a beating. That's why they plant them to the rear deck lid of their competitors in the bump draft.
At the front of the field, a battle between the stock car great Bill Elliott and Al Unser Jr.
Bill Elliott, a truly modest man who does not really crave public adulation. Press days are not his favorite thing.
Looking from the top of Ricky Rudd's car, there's Al Unser Jr. as he comes up into second place once again. Lyondike stays tapped on the back of him. There's Big Al.
Boy, there's
they all get past Rudd.
That's a perfect example of what happens when you get hung out to dry. Everyone just comes by, and you got to wait for a spot to open up in the line to move back in.
Well, that was a good example of Ricky Rudd doing exactly that, Sammy. He stayed on the left side. Everybody else switched over to the right lane, and he just went way back into the back because he had no help.
Now Davey Allison pokes his nose in there, as well as Big Al really gets it sliding loose. Gets it back under control, but he'll lose a little bit of positioning because of that.
You know, it's so hard to work your way up. You have to plan all your moves so carefully. Then one little mess up like they just had right there, and you go way back to the back and have to start all over again.
Big Al doesn't race much these days, but he's still got nerves of steel. Look at that. After that near problem, he came right back, got back in the thick of it right away.
Now Rudd decides the high groove is the better place to go as Al Jr. takes it down low with Lyondike behind him. The two stock car greats, Rudd and Kawicki, run on the high side. Then Big Al sits inside. Davey Allison in the black car sits up high and comes in right behind Big Al.
Now you just watch Lyondike sliding back because he didn't get in the fast lane there.
For a moment they were strung out, but now all 12 run back together again.
What you're looking for is
what the power of the drafting is.
Well, exactly, and what you're looking for, look at them exchanging places in the middle of the pack with Big Al dropping back a spot. You're looking for the optimum place to position the car in relationship to the other cars, so you can take best advantage of the draft and the placement. I mean, in a sense...
Al Unser Jr. comes up and bump drafts Ricky Rudd. Gives them both a boost and get him going. Rudd is out in front of this field.
That's the back end of Rudd's car. And, you know, positions in this field right now especially are so dependent on what the other guy does. You can't always say a driver made a mistake so he went back. It's often what the other guy did that causes it.
Yeah, but the bunt drafting is working so well for Rudd, Unser Jr., and for Elliott. Look, as they begin to separate now from the rest of the field.
And, you know, for the people that don't understand the bump drafting, they're absolutely pounding the other guys in the rear ends and bumping them and pushing them, and they pick up about 5 miles an hour like that.
So the battle continues at Daytona International. Round number 1 of IROC 17. Look now as Al Unser Jr. moves down to the inside on the backstretch. And he picks off Ricky Rudd. Boy, what a great exchange at the front of the field. You look from the top of Ricky Rudd's car again, the defending IROC champion.
Al Unser Jr. is the man who, as I said, has won more IROC races than anyone else. He's won 2 IROC championships, more IROC prize money than anyone else. He is the top dog.
So the fight continues with Little Al out in front. We'll be right back. Back at Daytona International as Ricky Rudd trying Al Unser Jr. one more time. Bill Elliott down there to help. And they have got Little Al stuck out alone on the high side of the track. The two stock car greats tacked together now. Here comes Davey Allison as well to close in. There's 3 stock car drivers down low. On the high side, Little Al will get some help from Lyondike.
Rudd is one of the fastest learners in racing. Look at this view from his car back to the car right behind him, and you see the suspension travel on the banking. It's Bill Elliott back there in the red car, number 10. Look at that, 2 or 3 inches of suspension travel.
Moving around the high banks, Daytona International, they have been swapping the lead back and forth. And as you can see right there, all 12 are still in this contest. No incidents thus far in the IROC, a smooth run, a great start. Juan Fangio on the pole, but he's fallen steadily backwards in the field and now runs in 8th place. Harry Gant has been moving with surges forward into the field, then dropping back. Gant now runs in last position.
Rudd is one of the fastest learners in racing history. He was NASCAR's Rookie of the Year, and of course in his first year, and he won IROC in his first year.
So Ricky Rudd, with Bill Elliott and Al Unser Jr. right on his tail, continues to run very high on the race course. And look, all 12 of them are still in very close contact. Now, these Dodge Daytonas are remarkable aerodynamic vehicles. Aerodynamics can affect speed, stability, and safety. Let's go to Jack Arute with a further update.
IROC mechanics have always concentrated both upon speed and safety. Starting last year and again this year, there are two devices on board these Dodge Daytonas that address both of those issues. The first is a side skirt that runs along the bottom of the passenger side of the car. And the second is this plexiglass window. Now, at speed, these two devices provide aerodynamic assistance to the car. But in the case of an accident, specifically a side spin, that's when the safety element comes into play. Before their introduction into IROC competition, cars would often fill with air and you'd see them lift up off the ground and sometimes even flip backwards. Since the side panel and the side skirt have been introduced, we more often than not see the cars staying firmly planted on the ground. Maybe just a little lift, but not like what we saw before their introduction. Now, you may also wonder what happens for the driver if the exit out of the driver's side is blocked. Well, he has two choices. The first, should the truck crew get there first, they can detach these two Zeus fasteners and open the window. Or if the driver needs to make a hasty exit, he can pull out these two latches and simply push the window out.
Battle opens up at the front. You watch from Al Unser Jr. as the front bumper on his car. He tucks in behind Rudd as the front of the field changes once again, and this time it's Bill Elliott in front.
And how familiar is this scenario in IROC racing as we see Rudd charging by into the lead with Al Jr. right behind him. I was going to say that Al Jr. left with a pack of NASCAR men to duke it out for the lead. We've seen this over and over again.
That whole passage became a little Al bumping Rudd, and he bumped him. Remember, I said they gained about 5 miles an hour down the straightaways when you get bumped.
Boom.
And he bumped him right past Elliott.
Alan Kowicki sitting in fourth place trying to get into the fight. He has two Indy champions right behind him. And again, it's Davey Allison using a lower line, and he's picking up some help from Jack Baldwin in that powder blue car. Way Lloyd there as they come onto the high banks. That gives you a great view of the tremendous banking here at Daytona as they come onto the backstretch.
It is a beautiful day here in Florida. It was raining hard last night, and still into this morning it cleared off perfectly.
Again, Al Unser Jr. comes to the front of the field. Looking back in the field, there is Baldwin now with Davy Jones. The line-colored car pulls up, and they begin to separate out at least into pairs. We see Jeff Brabham in the darker blue car as he closes in, and they leave Jack Baldwin out.
Jones, as you said, in that lime-colored car has been all over the place. He was back to next to last, and now he's come up to battle in the middle of the pack.
But now the stock car drivers are beginning to show their expertise on the super speedway. They occupy 3 of the top 4 positions. We'll be back. Back at Daytona, Ricky Rudd, Al Unser Jr., and Bill Elliott have broken away from the rest of the field and run 1, 2, and 3. In fourth is Alan Kowicki, but he has a lot of distance to make up if he is going to get back in the fight.
Kowicki has the experience to know he's going to get beaten unless he can hook up something with Lyondike, and of course Lyondike does not have Kowicki's experience in this kind of racing. What can they do about the leading 3? I don't know.
Kowicki is certainly aware as we look at him there. Lyondike just behind him, and then just behind these two is Davey Allison. There's Davey. Now, I'm sure that what Kowicki would prefer is that he gets Allison. You're on board with Allison. Now, let's keep an eye on Allison because the indications are that he keeps trying to get somebody to come forward by waving at them to come on up and draft with him so that he can move forward.
I've been watching Davey since the start of the race, and it doesn't make any difference what he does today. He's been in the wrong place, Paul. If he goes to the right, he should have gone to the left. It's one of those days when you just seem to do everything a little bit wrong.
Of course, Davey was in the IROC Series last year as a rookie, but he only got in 2 races before his injury eliminated him from the other 2, so this is only his 3rd IROC race.
On the super speedway, speed and stability depends on good adhesion, and that means good tires. A smart driver here knows how to save tires. Let's go to Jack Arute.
You hear us often talking about how important it is during the course of an IROC race to conserve your tires. Well, when you're running on a super speedway, there's only one technique available to you. To conserve your tires, what you're trying to do is keep as little heat out of them as possible. So what a driver will do, as you see in an in-car camera, oftentimes as he's driving, you'll see the wheel twisting back and forth. He will always have both hands gripped on it. If he's trying to conserve the tires, though, as he goes into the corner, he'll, what they call, let the car have its own head. He'll let the steering go very loose. He'll try not to jerk the car back and forth. It's a very, very light touch. That way, he's not actually steering the car. He's letting the car go into the corner at its own rate, in its own way.
Ricky Rudd has always been at the front in the run at Daytona. Last year, of course, tied with Harry Gant for second. Last year at Talladega, he finished third. At Michigan, he finished third. He's never won one of these IROC races, despite the fact that he carries the mantle of the champion. Will this be the day for his first victory?
He had a violent crash here at Daytona in the Busch Clash back in 1984, but he rebounded to win a race in Richmond just 2 weeks later.
You know, Powell, I watch right there in that group right there, and I see Kulwicki out front, Lyndike right behind him. Now, what those guys are not doing, that the three front leaders are doing, is they're not bumping each other, giving each other the boost down the straightaways. They're running two abreast like that. That's really slowing them back from the guys out in front.
As we watch this second group, too, another thing to remember is while it's important and prestigious to win the race, each of these positions count for points in the overall IROC scheme. So everybody is going to be flat out racing one another all the way.
In IROC, everything is important because, first of all, their reputations are on the line, and all of these guys are champions. And secondly, the points, like you said, count for the other races.
So there they are back in the field with Davey Allison making a move low as we take a look once again at the front, and it is unchanged. Ricky Rudd, Al Unser Jr., and Bill Elliott. This looks to be the fight that will run to the finish. We'll be back with more from Daytona. Round number 1 of IROC 17 as Ricky Rudd, Al Unser Jr., and Bill Elliott have now begun to pull away.
Almost 3 seconds now separating the first three from the rest of the pack. 2.73 seconds on that lap. Remember, there are no radios, no pit signals. You've got to be very alert as to how many laps remain in the race and what your strategy is going to be.
10 laps remaining. They've got to start doing some thinking. I see Lyndike starting to team up. I'm watching the guys back in the second group right there. He's been bumping Davy Jones. Now they've got to team up. It's the only way they can catch. There's Davey Allison.
Davey Allison and Kulwicki as they go way high. It's a 5-way battle for 4th place.
I don't think that's much of a gain up there, but they're just trying anything they can. They realize that it's hopeless. They can't do something to try to catch that front group. And you can look up way ahead there and see those three front cars.
Davy Jones in line leads this group, but boy, look at him skate back and forth. He almost got it totally loose. Let's go down to Jackaroo.
We've already told you about that terrific finish in a dead heat for second position in last year's Daytona edition of IROC. Let me show you why they made it a dead heat. Despite the fact that NASCAR utilizes sophisticated television equipment, officials could not determine a difference, an edge between Ricky Rudd or Harry Gant as they came to the stripe. This equipment will record images at over 120 frames per second. After running 100 miles at over 180 miles per hour, both Rudd and Gant came across that yellow stripe side by side.
Looking back, the separation between the top 3 and the rest of the field, and it is literally that, the top 3, the rest of the field, with Harry Gant a little bit behind. As one car lets go.
That's Fangio down on the grass, and he actually...
Big Al up into the wall, took a head-on shot to the wall.
Whoa.
And the yellow comes out. The yellow laps in the IROC do not count.
Big Al got down in the grass. He was going fairly straight. It looked like what he was trying to do was just drive through the grass and catch the pavement still going straight. Unfortunately, it rained all night. The grass is wet, and you can see by the tracks on the grass. He just lost his traction.
Let's take a look now to see what happened.
There's Big Al. He got out and just got Davey, squeezed him into the wall. A little too tight. Davey had no place to go. There's Big Al going across the grass. See the water flying off the tires? And he goes out and hits the wall. Now we're on board with Davey Allison, the in-car cam. He's up on the high side of the track. Big Al's right there on the left. He's squeezing Davey to the wall. He touches him. Davey turns to the left to protect himself. Spins Big Al sideways. Now we can see it from the back now. Let's see what happened.
Well, Al Unser is climbing out of his battered number 5. He appears to be okay after that hard contact with the wall. The yellow caution period will not count toward the laps, but it will close everyone else up behind Ricky Rudd, Unser Jr., and Bill Elliott. We'll be back. Still under caution at Daytona. In the IROC, yellow flag laps do not count. Al Unser Jr. is in second place, looking for a win as he continues to follow his family legacy. Here's an update from Jack.
With 2 IROC championships already under his belt, Al Unser Jr. embarks upon his 8th IROC season. Motorsport success is not new to little Al. From go-karts to midgets to Super V's and Can-Am cars, Al Jr. saw it all as simply an apprenticeship for Indy cars, and most importantly, the Indy 500. In 1990, he captured his first championship, despite this violent crash at Nazareth. On the very day he clinched the title. But for him, the dream that burned within his soul remained, to win the Indianapolis 500. And last year, that dream came true.
It meant everything. You know, the Indy 500 victory meant everything to me. It's something that, you know, when I was 9 years old, I had my dad's poster hanging up on my wall, and it was right in front of my bed, really, on the outside, on the other side of the wall. And every morning, you know, I woke up with him in victory lane at Indy, and, you know, a lot more people are looking at me before they didn't. You know, I was son of 4-time Indy winner, and now I am an Indy winner, and so the pressures that as much came off, came on.
Like his father Al and his uncle Bobby, Al Unser Jr.'s life is consumed by racing. It's more than everything to him. It's the only thing.
I just want to drive race cars, and I don't care what color they are, what number it is, what kind of race car it is. As long as it's competitive with the rest of the field, then I want to get out there and play.
This year's Daytona 500 saw little Al playing with stock car racing's elite. At the midway point, the New Mexico Redhead was solidly in the top 10 until this crash forced him to the sidelines. Many say that the IROC series favors NASCAR drivers. The cars react and drive like their regular rides. But don't tell Al Jr. that. He sees this series as another championship to win.
If your car's running good and you're drafting well, you're going to go to the front. And it doesn't matter if it's a NASCAR boy or an Indy boy or a Formula boy. I mean, they're all the same when they get out there.
But Al Unser Jr., like most race drivers, would hope that his equipment is not quite the same. Still, in the IROC, the theory is equality of equipment. The green flag comes out. All 11 cars are now closely bunched together, and it's a new race once again. Al Unser is being reported as okay. He is the only driver out of this race thus far. Out in front is Ricky Rudd.
Rudd has never won a major race at Daytona. He's been third. Al Jr. has never won a major race at Daytona, whereas Bill Elliott, the third guy in that trio up front, has won the 500 in 1985 and 87.
At the front of the field, things remain the same. At the back of the field, Harry Gant was able to make a pretty good move on that race start and got around 2 other cars, Jack Baldwin and Juan Fangio, who now run in the last 2 positions.
I think the thing that surprised me the most, Paul, is when they took the green flag, they really didn't get bunched up. They weren't bumper to bumper as we expected them to be. Now, they can't afford to give that away at this point in the race.
Al Unser Jr. continues to run in second place. They don't have two-way radios on these cars, and I'm sure Al is a little bit concerned about the condition of his father. Here's Jack Arute.
What happened?
Well, I guess first my car quit running. I went to the back, and then it started picking up, but it still wouldn't run good. And then I guess it was just not enough room when I tried to get up in there, and I thought I had enough room, and we just, whoever I hit got me going sideways, and I hit the wall.
But you're okay?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
Not the first one, though. You had a close call before that, too, with you and Bill Elliott.
Yeah, I don't know why. You know, he squeezed down and mine jumped up, and I don't know. It's just, when you run hard, it's sometimes you touch.
Davey Allison came out of the caution period well back in the field. has now closed up behind the lime car. That's road racer Davy Jones, who's had really a spectacular run on his own. He's really had a good run here. And now Davy Allison closes up to come in behind him as Davy Jones begins to challenge Al Unser Jr. And Bill Elliott comes away past and picks up the lead.
Now there was a move by Davy Jones. It was absolutely a true race driver's move. He absolutely hooked up, came from behind. He's in second place, got Elliott clear up in front. Things are really changing fast now.
So Elliott at the front, Davy Jones in second place. Ricky Rudd has lost the dominance he had, and Al Unser Jr. has fallen well back behind Davy Allison.
I asked Davy Jones yesterday if he was tired from his trip back from England and the testing there. He said, absolutely not. I'm so excited to be here for IROC. All that tiredness has melted away, and you bet he's not tired right now.
Remember, so much of this race depends on what the other guy does. Look at little Al, went from second place. All he thought he had to do was pass one car to take the win, and now he's back into fifth place.
Looking forward to the two leaders, Jones and Elliott, as there's Davy Allison coming up on the inside. And Allison, who was well back when the caution started, picks up a little help here, and he's working his way forward. So that yellow flag bunched up the field and gave a chance to Davy Allison. Now stock car drivers run first and third. Davy Jones and Al Unser are looking solid. We'll be back. Back at Daytona International Speedway, it is Elliott in front. Davy Jones is second. Davy Allison moves up to third, and now Ricky Rudd and Al Unser Jr. battle it out side by side. The front runners have once again managed to separate themselves from the rest of the field, but that front-running pack is much larger now.
At the front, it's definitely a question of a kind of movable chess game, but with the moves just speeded way up, you've got to decide not only what you and your car can and cannot do, but what the other men can and cannot do.
You know, the interesting thing about this, it went from a 3-car race to a 5-car race up front, and any guy in there could upset the whole apple cart and cause it to be totally different in any given straightaway.
Looking very much like last year's run here at Daytona, which ended up in the only dead heat ever in the IROC. That for second place between Harry Gant and Ricky Rudd. 5 cars all together. It's getting down to decision time now.
And remember that at a similar racetrack, Talladega, Davy Jones had a great account of himself, finishing 4th, but he was actually leading briefly on that last lap. So he's been a front runner in these situations before.
2 laps to go.
Now, little Al is going to push Davy Allison. There comes a point in the back where they really have to start doing something because the front isn't possible otherwise. Sometimes you got to help a guy win the race in order to get second place is what I'm really trying to say.
Remember, this is only the first round of the IROC, so every position counts for points.
See, but what the point Bobby just made is really good, because sometimes you help another guy to win just in order to get second or third for yourself. Remember that Rudd, en route to his championship last year, did not win any of the races. He picked off seconds and thirds.
The white flag comes out with 1 lap to go for Bill Elliott. Davy Jones is right behind him. Common wisdom would say that Jones is in an excellent position. But does he have the skill on a super speedway to kiss around a great champion on a super speedway like Elliott?
Think of the incredible disparity in experience between Elliott, who just races here all the time, and Jones, who so rarely does. Whoa!
Davy Jones scrapes the outside of the wall but keeps going, but at the same time Davy Allison is able to close in. Elliott begins to pull away.
And that slows Davy Jones down just enough to where there's nothing he can do. He's going to go back to 5th place. That's fiberglass on the fenders, just barely rubbing the wall.
Davy Jones in real trouble as now he falls steadily backward and begins to battle with Rudd at the front of the field. Elliott tries to protect his position as they come to the finish. Right alongside is Davy Allison. And Elliott takes the win. Al Unser Jr. is 3rd. Davy Jones is 4th. And we've got trouble with Alan Kowicki as they come to the line. Kowicki will cross the line on the grass if he can keep it going.
Well, we've seen a lot of finishes, but boy, that one was really a little bit different.
And Kowicki lost it well after the finish. Here are those 2 incidents. First, watch the lime green car as Davy Jones just runs up and scrapes some concrete off the wall and keeps going. Now watch Alan Kowicki in the orange car. Watch Fangio just behind him. After they cross the line, Fangio slams into the back end of Kulwicki and sends him first into the wall and then down across the grass. But it appears that Alan Kulwicki is okay. What a finish here at Daytona. The benefactor of it all is Bill Elliott. We'll talk to him in just a moment. Well, Bill Elliott takes the win in IROC 17, round number 1, as he dominates Daytona. Here's Jack Arute.
Well, Bill Elliott, congratulations. It wasn't too easy, though. You had a couple of close calls.
I'll tell you, it was a while there. You know, Rudd's car ran good and Unser's car ran good, but it looks like Rudd's car gave up quite a bit there toward the end of the race, and my car got just a little bit loose, but I was able to go to the bottom of the racetrack and stay there. And that's where Rudd, you know, Rudd was having to go high, and he was losing a lot of time. And my car didn't run that good down the straightaway, but it'd fly through the corners. And then whenever Davy Jones got behind me there, he nudged me in the middle of 1 and 2, and when he did, he drove me straight to the wall. And then whenever I went just as far as I could and then turned it at the last minute, and then he was outside of me and ran into the wall.
Now, this is your first effort in the Dodge Daytonas. Your impression?
They did a fantastic job. You know, when I drove them back here, not last year, but year before, I mean, Jay and all the guys did a fantastic job with these things. And, you know, the thing of it is, it's hard to get all these cars equal. And, you know, they've done a good job at it. And I'll have to say this, you know, all the guys that work on these things, they do a fantastic job.
Congratulations to Bill Elliott, who takes the win here at Daytona. Here is the official order of finish, with Elliott at the top of the order. And, of course, the points pretty well reflect the order of finish here today, and they will start in the inverse order of these points when they take the track at Darlington. Now, what about those 2 incidents during the last lap? Let's go down to the pit once again in Jack Arute.
Well, Davey, first of all, what happened to you?
Well, I was trying to stay as tucked in as possible behind Bill Elliott on the last lap, you know, so it was the 2 of us to come down to the wire. And I touched him in the back coming off at turn 2, and I just got in his dirty air, and it just went straight into the wall. So after touching the wall last year and trying not to take out the whole field and nothing was wrong with the car, this time I just stayed in it and hoped for the best, and I was lucky enough to finish 4th.
And yet, Alan Kulwicki, you had an altercation on that last lap as well.
The race was over, and Fangio hit me from behind. I don't know if he didn't know the race was over, if he didn't see the checkered flag or what, but he hit me, got me all crossed up, and I hit the wall.
Welcome to IROC.
I guess.
Well, if he thinks this was rough, what about when they go for the first time to Darlington Raceway for round number 2? Congratulations to Bill Elliott. I'm Paul Page. For Bobby Unser, Sam Posey, and Jack Arute. So long from Daytona.